Hi everybody, Andy here again. I've made a couple of videos recently due to the sort of deaths that have been around me and making you sort of re-evaluate things, making you look back on things. And as it happens, another death has happened very recently to someone just a few years older than me, another one of those people who just suddenly went, you know, it's a side story that, but another one of those things that makes you think about these things as well. But I've been watching some videos by one of my favourite video makers on here, Margaret, who goes by the name of A33, and I should put a link over there to her channel. Very well worthwhile. Now Margaret is now in her 80th year, and she's just done a couple of series of videos which are ongoing called Loose Ends, looking at trying to catalogue her life in a way. She did this when she got to her 70th year, because you, as I say, you start to evaluate these things and you start to think about that, and all these things that you've got, and you want to sort of catalogue them and collect them and maybe store them somewhere, either for posterity or whatever. Now this is one of those sort of things that I've talked about before, but in a sort of a digital way, putting things out there in the, you know, we heard about this sort of cloud computing and things like that nowadays, don't we? We can put things onto the internet, which in a way is what we're doing here, rather than go over and over what I said before. But I've been on this channel now or on YouTube for getting on for 3 years, and all the videos, the 500 plus videos that I've got here, are a snapshot of my life. I can look back on them and I can see changes in me, I can see changes, you know, about the way that I am or whatever, but I can also remember things. It takes me back to sort of certain times. It makes me remember things that I wouldn't have remembered before. And once again, it's a perfect way of doing that. And what Margaret's told me has made me think about that as well. We had a couple of sort of a very short conversation earlier today about the same sort of thing. And that question comes up as to why would you ever want to do this type of thing. Now making videos is one thing, but actually putting things out there which are away from videos, I suppose, is a different matter altogether. Who are you doing it for and why are you doing it? Yes, we can, as I said before, you could do it for your children, for your grandchildren or something, or for family, relatives or something, but you can also do it for yourself. How many things have you got lying around your house that get left in boxes that are stored, which is what Margaret's found. She's got boxes and boxes of bits and pieces of her life in there. And it's like with art, isn't it? Art shouldn't be in a box. Art shouldn't be in a museum, in the background of a museum. Something should be on show, shouldn't it? It should be there. What's the point of keeping it in a box in a cupboard? You need to look at it, because if it's in a cupboard you'll never get to look at it, will you? And I've thought about doing this type of thing, organising what I've got of my life, photographs, videos, music, that type of thing as well, and I've digitised bits of it. I've started to put photographs onto especially my Facebook page, because people might want to see them, but it's also a way of putting things up there for me as well, and maybe leaving them. It forces me to do it in some ways, so it forces me to start cataloguing these things, actually digitising them and putting them out there. But in the future, who knows, who might want to see these things. Now in my time on here, if you're watching this particular video, you will probably never ever get to meet me in real life, so to speak, in person, and I will probably never ever get to meet you in person. But I've made a lot of friends on here, and I've been influenced by a lot of people here, and I know that people have said to me that my videos in one way or another have touched them, and the same has happened for me. I've seen videos that have touched me, Margaret's being one in one way, that make you think, that make you act in a different way, move you along in a different way as well. And there's so many people out there that I'd like to know more about. Not too much information maybe, but you know what I mean. I'm interested in them because they're interesting people. We watch people on here, we get involved with people on here, we have great friendships on here because we like the people, we find them interesting, their lives are interesting, especially with the vlogging side of things. You listen to people because you're interested in what they've got to say, you're interested in their life. I get asked questions by people, what do you do for work, what do you do there, what do you think about this, would you do a video, and all of those type of things. And there's people out there I'd like to know more. Now we would never know about those people, and we probably never will know about those people, but we now have an opportunity to put all this information out there. We can create our own websites, we can put our own videos onto YouTube, we can put photographs onto Flickr, onto Facebook, we can put other things, we can scan documents and post them somewhere else, for example, and we can create this sort of digital memory bank about ourselves. It could be for our purposes as well. As I said, it's great when you start going through these things like you do, and you find this box in a cupboard and you start looking through and you find photographs, or you find an old newspaper or something like that, or you look at the kids' photographs of your kids or something, and it takes you back to that time. It would be a great pity if you lost that personally, but also you could put things up there that would be of interest to other people, especially with sort of the Facebook thing. Your friends, especially with the families and that type of thing, and all those relatives that you never get to see. You can put things up there and they can actually access them if you want to do that, but it can also be left for when you're not here, and that's one of the good things. I saw a video, a link to a site the other day. I'm not sure what it was about completely, but the essence of the site was it was a place where you could store passwords and all those links, etc., to all the sites that you're involved with. So like all the internet sites that I'm involved with and I've got accounts with. It might be banking, it might be YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is, so that in the event of your passing, especially if it happens suddenly, your family could actually gain access to that site and will be able to sort out all those little bits and pieces of your life. And you can imagine, go back a few years and we had a will. Someone didn't make a will. That was not a good thing. I'm always telling people they need to make a will for one reason or another, if only for the monetary reason. It creates such a lot of problems. But now we're living increasingly online in a digital internet age, and it's only going to get more that way as well. You think how many passwords, how many sites that you actually use, and how many sites now that you need to use for banking, for just about everything. You can control so much of your life online. Imagine what would happen if you popped off just like that, and I've seen that happen too many times this year already, so I know that chance is there for probably anybody. You think, what would happen if those passwords, those sites weren't accessed, if your family, your wife, your children or whatever didn't know about that? I have a book with my sort of passwords in, but even I am guilty of this, and this makes you think maybe I should go and visit that site. But the other side is we can put things up there for people to watch. So once again, I've been influenced by somebody else's video as well. And this goes along with another subject which I'm going to make a video about, a more light-hearted side of this type of thing, about the way that things disappear and we have things floating around which we've got no home for, etc. But here we are on the internet. We can now put these things up there on our own site, on somebody else's site. It doesn't matter, there's so many sites that we can put all of these bits and pieces of our lives on there. If you don't want people to see it, that doesn't matter. You can make it private, but you can still keep it up there just in case the worst or even the inevitable does happen. And other people can then access that and see parts of your life rather than lose it. As I said, there's nothing worse than having all these things sitting around. As I said, art or whatever needs to be shown, as does anything in a museum. It should be viewed. It shouldn't be locked up in the background, because it could mean something to somebody. It could spark someone's memory. It might even change the way that they think or do things as well. And if there's anything that can come out of anybody's life, if you can change somebody else's life in some way, if you can alter, improve somebody else's life for the better, what better way is there to go than thinking that might happen? But if you don't have your information out there, if your videos are taken down, for example, for whatever reason, that video might be the one that sparks someone changes their life. I know this is something I've said before, that videos can change life. I do believe that they can, even in a small way. So anyway, think about that one. I'll be interested in your thoughts about that. And thanks, Margaret, for the inspiration for this and for the AudioBoo that I did about this. But I just had to expand on it and talk about it a bit more. But that's what vlogging's all about, isn't it? Thanks very much. I shall speak to you again soon. Goodbye.